April Fool went slightly wrong. In April many people practice some jokes which are usually unharmful and adorable. However, many people take this into extreme level or things just get out of control. Here are some of pranks that backfired on them. Texting your daughter to say there is a school shooting. Angela Timmons thought it would be a good idea to text her daughter on April 1, 2014 claiming she could hear gunshots being fired at the college she worked at. Understandably concerned, Angela's daughter couldn't get hold of her mum after receiving the message, so she decided to call 911 instead. In America, where mass shootings aren't a rarity, police were at Virginia colleges in Spartanburg County, coming in minutes only to find no shooting had taken place. Timmons was then arrested on charges including aggravated breach of peace and disturbing a school. Telling a colleague on holiday a major report is due early. Glenn Howlett's colleagues at London City Hall in Ontario thought it would be funny to interrupt his holiday to say a major report that he was working on was due early. Glenn, clearly being very conscientious, immediately cut his trip short, but when considering the enormity of the task, he became so stressed and started having heart palpitations, collapsed and took time off work. During his recovery, he decided on reflection that it wasn't worth it and took early retirement. He then sued his former employer for damages. The city now has a bylaw prohibiting practical jokes at work. Considering the wider picture, it's difficult to know what was going through the mind of this Army intelligence officer. In 1986, an Israeli intelligence officer decided to use April 1 as an excuse to falsify a news memo saying that Nabi Berri, leader of the Shiite Amal movement, had been seriously wounded in an assassination attempt. It was swiftly reported by Israeli radio and broadcast in Hebrew and English throughout the morning until it was retracted. The news caused an immediate flare-up in tensions in the region, with Israel's defense minister, Yitzhak Rabin, announced the unnamed officer would be court-martialed. Alien hoax almost gets a town evacuated. In 2010, Al Gad newspaper ran an article claiming that UFO had landed near the town of Jaffa in Jordan. But what they thought would be a hilarious prank almost turned into a mass evacuation of 13,000 people when the town's mayor, Mohammed Mlihan, was fooled and dispatched security forces. Students didn't go to school, their parents were frightened, and they almost evacuated the town's 13,000 residents, the Telegraph reported him as saying. People were scared that aliens would attack them. The one causing a bit of a British landmark to fall into the sea. On the face of it, this seems like a relatively harmless prank. In 2001, a DJ on Southern FM in Brighton broadcast that a replica of the Titanic could be seen from Beachy Head in East Sussex. The problem was that hundreds of listeners believed him, some driving as far as 40 miles, to catch a glimpse of the ship. One woman called Joyce Smart told the Telegraph she drove more than 30 miles with her 2 kids to see the ship and felt like a bit of an idiot. Coast Guards weren't happy either and later identified a large crack in the cliff face, caused by the weight of so many people stood on the cliffs. It fell into the sea a few days later. Student uses April Fool's Day as a cover to kill his roommate. Former medical student Linsanyeo poisoned his flatmate's water cooler, causing him to suffer multiple organ failure. The 28-year-old from China recently lost his appeal against the death sentence he received for the intentional homicide of Huan Yang. He had tried to claim that he only intended to cause his roommate some discomfort by putting toxic chemical N-nitrosodimethylamine, NDMA, in a water cooler. But his story began to unravel when it turned out he examined his flatmate on April 2 and told him there was nothing wrong. He even visited hospital while his victim remained undiagnosed but didn't tell anyone what had happened.